it's D-Mac here with my buddy Lance Britton, who former co-worker and very good-looking guy, which threatens me massively. My blog this week is about fear of failure. And I lived in Buffalo for 6 years. We had the most ridiculous thing ever in Buffalo, and that was fans who actually dreaded going to the Super Bowl. That is no lie, because once you lose a couple in a row, you really, we would talk to people who were afraid to go to the Super Bowl. And I'm sensing that now, Lance, with the Broncos, and I'm hearing these ridiculous things about Peyton Manning and whether or not he can come through in a big game. My point is, you can't succeed if you're afraid to succeed. If you're afraid, that fear of failure is crippling. And I don't care what the situation is or what the past history is. He's the best player in the NFL. The Broncos are the best team. You shouldn't be anything but optimistic about what's about to happen.
Well, first of all, as a guy who is a Colorado native, who grew up watching the Broncos and cheering for the Broncos, I understand the sentiment in Buffalo where you're scared to go to a Super Bowl. Which that'll happen when you lose 42-10 and 55-10 like the Broncos did back in the mid to late 80s. But I also remember a cover of Sports Illustrated with John Elway on it that said, "We'll show up," or something to that effect. He was not afraid. Eventually he got what he deserved his last 2 seasons, winning Super Bowls. The Peyton Manning argument, hard to get on board with that for me. Yes, he's 9-11 in playoff games, and I understand the doomsday attitude and that whole sentiment, so on and so forth. But here's the reason that I think fans are somewhat justified in being a little bit concerned about this playoff run is, if you look at the last decade, there have been 2 seasons in which the 2 number ones have both gone to the Super Bowl. 6 seeds have gone to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl more often in the last decade than have 1 seeds. There's so much parity in the game. The salary cap creates a situation where you may have a great player like Peyton Manning, but the group around him is maybe not going to be Super Bowl caliber. You don't have the 49ers of the mid to late 80s. You don't have the Cowboys of the mid 90s. Those teams don't exist anymore. So the reality of, or the possibility of a reality of Denver going up against somebody that's going to knock them off into lower seed, I say is pretty high just because of the way the NFL's set up.
I would just urge people in this next week. I guess I'll look like a total loser, I suppose, if they go ahead and lose and he goes out for the 6th time in the first round, something like that. But that's not how I'm approaching it, and that's not how I think fans should approach it. And I certainly don't think that's how Peyton Manning, I don't think that's how he's approaching it. I'm ready for a long run here. I think it's going to be a blowout. Here I am, out on that limb. I think it's going to be a blowout for the Broncos, and really the more concerning opponent to me will probably be the New England Patriots. Although, if it's the Colts, holy cow, well, I love that story. And as far as I'm concerned, we'll see everybody in the most miserable Super Bowl ever in New York City, but as long as the Broncos are there, it'll be okay. And I think they will be there.
I'm ready for a run. Let's see what happens. Enjoy it. At a minimum, enjoy it.
Don't be afraid of failure. Go for it in your own personal life. Endorse the day. Help me. I'm a motivational speaker. I live in a van down by the river.
Pull your cotton pants up.